Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Johnny Bravo, Season 1, Episode Bravo Dooby Doo. So, this was a very cool Johnny Bravo and Scooby-Doo crossover. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming. And it's one of the coolest crossovers I've ever seen, and somehow it just works. This came out in 1997. It's been a long stinking time. Like, what is it, like 27 years and stuff? And it still holds up today. And it's a million times better than Velma and some of the other, Scooby-Doo, like, shows and stuff. Because some of them were just kind of, like, okay. But never, like, great, you know what I'm saying? But Velma was terrible. And so this came out on Cartoon Network. And the whole reason why this came about was because the creator, Van Parable, wanted to do a Scooby-Doo episode. Now, Johnny Bravo, it aired on Cartoon Network, but it's actually a Hanna-Barbera cartoon series. And of course, Scooby-Doo is a Hanna-Barbera property. And they was actually still alive when this, show was around and everything. But sadly, they have both died now. So has the creators of Scooby-Doo. And so, it's actually funny how this all came about. Because, I forgot I actually had this episode on my DVD. Because it's on the Johnny Bravo DVD and stuff. Because only one season ever came out on DVD. And then they also had kind of like the best of when they did like Cartoon Network stuff. But and they also had audio commentary. I'm like, score, dude. Like, I haven't listened to audio commentary in a long time. Johnny Bravo. I missed that cartoon so much. That cartoon will never be made today. Because I reviewed Johnny Bravo a few years back and I already said, all that raunchy stuff that went on in there would never fly today. It would probably have to be more along the third season, which was never that great. It was just too silly and wacky. But basically, the first two seasons just had Johnny constantly hitting on women and getting his butt kicked. And I mean, constantly hitting on women and not taking no for an answer. It's still funny how this cartoon came about. Because you're surprised it flew back then. But basically, he went to Hanna-Barbera and was all like, hey, can I make this episode? They're like, sure, why not? So luckily, they had a box full of old Scooby-Doo templates and everything, art templates, and just all kind of art studio things. I don't even know what they're called. Which really helped them along because they wanted this to be as authentic as possible. For the Scooby-Doo gang to look the same way they did in 1969 and the 70s and stuff with Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Which is still one of the best cartoons ever. It was simple, it was fun, it was it was a huge mystery, it was just a fun show, And so, they even had Johnny Bravo still drawn in his design, but the color palette and the dust and everything was, added to him. Because remember, Johnny's in, the 90s and stuff. But somehow, it just fits very well. And so, I remember hearing them say that, when they sent the project over to overseas so they can, draw it and animate and stuff, they had a hard time because the animators wanted to literally animate things in the modern day. And they're like, no. Keep it exactly the way you see it. Follow the paper copy and everything. Don't change nothing with it. Like just keep it looking exactly the weird looking way it does and stuff. Because animation was so different back then. And as for like the chase sequence, the song that plays, 'cause there's always like a 70s type song playing when they're getting chased. And the song was actually written by Van Parable himself. Like, he said it was the first time he ever wrote music. And they're all like, just start writing it. And it was like, come to you and everything. And so he had like literally no idea what the world he was doing, but somehow it just all came to him. I've never actually listened to the lyrics, but it sounds like 70s type music. And it just sounds really rad. And so, look at me using the word rad. But the chase sequence went on for way too long. I mean, way too long. Because they realized the episode was too short. Because see, with Johnny Bravo, some episodes are cut in half where you have 2 episodes. And so it fell a little short, so they had to add more onto it. So they added a chase sequence, and the chase sequence had like Johnny and Shaggy. Don't know where everybody else was at. I kind of was curious and wanted to see. And when they got done with the episode, they wanted to show it to Hanna-Barbera, to show like, hey, this is what we did. Do you approve? And, stuff like that. And so, he went over to their place, they ate, they watched, and Joe Barbera fell asleep during the chase sequence. He said, like, he doesn't know if it was just because he's old or like he just ate lunch. Boy, let me tell you, I'm in my 40s. When you eat lunch, you about to pass out after that. It's hard for me to stay awake. I hate that crap. It sucks being old, man. Like, it sucks. Anyways, but yeah, they loved it and everything. I thought it was like really great. And so this isn't the first time they've crossed over. It is the first time, but they've done it like other times before, at least 3 other times. When it came to that of like the voice cast, they tried their extreme best to get like everybody to come back from the original series. So they got Casey Kasem. They said he was just a treat, but Casey had to film his stuff separately from everybody else. And they said they just had a blast, like filming with him and everything, because he was so professional. He can get really into the groove of how Shaggy is. I mean, the man's been doing it for so many decades, but sadly, he passed away. They got Frank Welker to come back as, what's his name, Fred. They got, I can't remember her name, but her last name is North. I think it's Heather North, to play Daphne, the original Daphne. Sadly, however, they could not get the original Velma. The original Velma, Nicole, I think Jeffrey, her name is. She was retired by that time. She retired doing the voice of like Velma back in the day when the show ended, but she still worked for Scooby-Doo other stuff, just playing additional voices. But then she came out of retirement, I think a few years back in the 2020s, just to do like one thing. But for the most part, she's retired. So they got BJ Ward, who was the second Velma, to voice her. But sadly, Scooby-Doo himself, Don Messick, he had a stroke, so he wasn't feeling well to record the voice of Scooby. And then about 3 months later, he died. And so they got the second person to voice Scooby. I can't remember his name. I really, really can't. But like, also Frank Welker, he also voiced what's that little buggy car called? What is it? It's something buggy. I want to say punch buggy or whatever. It's that little talking car. Because like it was just a nice little cameo to see him. And I wasn't expecting to see him of all people and stuff. Of course, the little punch buggy dude is from all those, like, Hanna-Barbera, Scooby-Doo knockoffs and stuff. It's funny, he knocked off his own property over and over and over again. And so, like, let's see. So yeah, they got the voice cast and stuff like that. But then it was so cool because it's like there are an adult innuendo in there between Fred and Daphne that's just like hilarious. It's something people have always theorized. Like, why do these two always pair up together and disappear for the longest time? Like, I remember when I was in college and I went to a coffee house for the first time and I met a bunch of people that later became my friends. They were just talking about Scooby-Doo and why Shaggy and Scooby are always hungry and whatever happened to like Daphne and Fred whenever they disappear, and could like Velma be like a lesbian and stuff. And it was just like, like the craziest thing. And it's just like they did the little adult innuendo, which was just like hilarious in the episode. But I'm surprised Fred didn't get mad at Johnny for constantly hitting on Thelma, because that's the person he likes and stuff. But of course they had Velma hit on Johnny and he just wasn't interested. Somehow Shaggy and Johnny just work together so well. I don't know how or why, it just does. So, like, the episode starts off in the woods, and Johnny's car has broken down on the side of the road. Now, I was really odd. I'm like, 'cause the dude doesn't have a car, so where did he get this from? And so he's trying to fix it on his own, and it's a really funny joke about him pulling out some fish. Now, I don't know if Johnny Bravo is actually on streaming or not. I have no idea. It might be on Boomerang, maybe. And I don't even know if the DVD is still in print. It's probably out by now. And so he's trying to fix it. And all of a sudden, the mystery van comes up. And here comes the teens in their typical looking way, just looking like dumbfounded and everything. And so Thelma's like, Jinkies. And Johnny's kind of like, Jinkies? What's a Jinkies? Because he's never heard that before. And you know how Johnny is. He talks like he's Elvis Presley. And he's like, he's like, and he's always like flexing his muscles and like all this other stuff. And it's just like, he talks like, my name is Johnny Bravo. And then, he's like, and he's like flexes his muscles. And he like, loves to do the monkey dance and like all kind of stuff. And it's just that like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just like he's just the craziest person. He's always posing, but his hair looks like James Dean. And so like, he's telling them, hey man, like I'm going to visit my aunt, Jessa Dissa, whatever her name is, and his car broke down. And they just look at him like they don't know what the world he's talking about. And then he's all like, I need a ride to get there. And they just seem like they don't understand. But he's all like, it's in a spooky house. Now they understand. And what's crazy is Shaggy and Scooby are happy to go to a spooky house. I'm like, they don't do that. But, Shaggy's making fun of his hair and stuff like that. Velma's like all up in love with him. Is all like, I don't bite. And he's just checking out Daphne. And it's like, he's all like, but does she? So when they get there and everything, what is it? I forget, something might have happened, but I can't remember what. And then I don't know if they saw the ghost first or not, because the ghost is kind of like the ghostly gardener. I think he's made up for this show. And so Daphne's all like, all right, you need to split up. And she's all like, pairing people off. And Fred's all like, Daphne? Like, and he gives her like this weird winky look and everything. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, me and Fred are gonna pair up, and then you, Johnny, you gonna go with Shaggy, and Scooby will go like with Velma. and everything. That was the most hilarious thing ever because you knew exactly what they meant. So they go upstairs, and all of a sudden it's the ghost, and it's a long chase sequence, and it's hilarious, but it does go on for too long. Anyways, like always, Shaggy's like falling, flying around, Johnny's falling around, and he falls on like a chandelier that crashes on top of like the ghost. And so, like, when they take the mask off, and this is the funniest part, when they take the mask off, is basically characters that they faced off against in season one. The first one's like Professor Hyde, then it's like some hypnotist dude, Bigfoot, Don Knotts. But the next person, I had no idea who he was, and neither did Johnny. It was Joe Barbera. And John's like, who is that? Because I'd never seen what these dudes look like. I didn't even know there was two people. I always assumed it was one person. But then when they took the last mask off, it turned out to be his aunt. And he couldn't understand why she would do all this. And she told him plain and simple, I hate your guts. And did not want you to visit me. Because he's super annoying and everything. So, she told the kids, like, hey, can you help me out? So what they do is they drive off back into the woods and they tie Johnny up to a tree. And then that's when Speed Buggy comes and offer him a ride. But then Johnny's aunt is hitting on Fred. It goes in the family, they're always hitting on people. Like I said before, this was just so unexpected, but it was just so fun to watch, man. Like, it's always fun to see them cameoing or like, doing a crossover. And like I said before, this is probably like the first time they ever crossed over into somebody else's like cartoon series. Because I don't remember them really doing it in the past, because they always brought other people into theirs. Now, actually, I just thought about this. You can actually find the first half of this episode on YouTube. I just now thought about that. The second half is technically there, but it's chopped up, so you miss a lot of the good parts. But the first half is intact. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.